To begin, I'll describe the place I work since that's where most of the stuff has taken place. I was hired on about 6 months ago at an old hospital to schedule patient appointments. That involves verifying medical records, insurance information, getting them scheduled according to the doctor's orders without getting yelled at, and blah blah blah. You get the picture. So the hospital itself is actually kind of cool. It was built in the late 1800s, but recently a new one was built, so most of the departments have moved across town to the new one. For some reason, our department was left behind with a "we'll move you over soon" type of deal from the executives. Okay, so we're here, along with a few other small departments. Mostly alone, I have to emphasize. Walking around the building is kind of creepy sometimes, especially being super quiet in a building you would imagine to mostly be loud. Sort of like seeing an amusement park in the off-season. There's just something weird about it. Anyways, so I started a while ago, like I said, and noticed almost right off that strange things happen. Just little things at first, like cold spots in my office and whatnot. I guess my department used to be what they called the cave, which was a windowless hellhole in the basement where everyone was scrunched together, and this one lady smelled bad, so everyone had to suffer through it. Just glad I started after they moved upstairs. I have a window, I'm not next to the smelly person, and so on. Things aren't great, but better than most of the other jobs I've held in the past. So, only a few weeks ago I did start to notice things getting weirder. Sometimes I'll go down to the cafeteria by myself. They have super crappy food that tastes like plastic. And to get there I need to walk down several abandoned hallways. Many of them have old doctor's offices and patient rooms. This one day I was heading down to the elevators, the ones on the east side, since the one closest to my department supposedly was the one they used to transport dead bodies to the morgue, and it just smells kind of funky. I hear this creepy laughter down this hall off to my left. Kinda sounded like one of my coworkers, so I thought they might be just around the corner. I peeked my head down and there was no one there. It's an area I haven't yet explored and it was no longer in use. Needless to say, I hurried my way along to the elevator and tried to write it off as either a prank or my imagination. Another thing, these elevators I use are the least creepy in the building, but they are still creepy sometimes. I'll be heading down the hall and hear the ding announcing the arrival of an elevator. The doors will open on their own when I'm about to hit the button. I'm always hesitant to get in after that, but I always do anyways. Sometimes I'll even say thank you when I'm alone, just in case there's some ghosts that will haunt me for not being grateful. I know, I'm weird. Jumping back to where I said things started getting weirder. One time a few weeks ago, I was on my way to lunch and hopped in the elevator. Alone, of course, after it opened on its own. I was between floors when the lights flickered and the elevator stopped. There wasn't like a huge crash and a lot of shaking or anything stupid like you would see in the movies. It just slowed down and stopped. Almost like, I don't feel like elevatoring today, so I'm gonna stop. So I stand there for a few moments trying to figure out what to do. Do I call the police? Do I hang out so I don't have to go back to work? As I'm deliberating, I suddenly feel this quick exhale of air right by my ear. It sounds exactly like someone just breathed a heavy sigh. Freaked me out so bad I had my back to the doors immediately and was pressed against them as if I was hoping I could slide through them to the other side. There wasn't anything in the elevator with me. The elevator started moving again as I tried to slow my breathing, and I almost fell out of the elevator when the doors finally slid open on the ground level. A couple of people were waiting for the elevator and gave me weird looks, but I ignored it. I was just happy to be out of there. I realized later that I hadn't said thank you. Maybe that's why it stopped? I don't know. So, here's where things get even more weird. I started training down at my desk we have in a lobby area on the main floor. It's a check-in for MRI patients, along with cardiac rehab and ECT. Nothing too exciting, but it was good to interact with real people and not just the voices over the phone when scheduling. So I was finally on my own last week down there. It's usually really boring. I mostly browse the internet and read Reddit stories. The one girl was sitting in a chair in the waiting room. I hadn't noticed her walk in. I was probably too absorbed in a story to notice, but I start looking at her and I can see she's about my age, maybe a little older, but 25, maybe 26. She has long brown hair that kinda hangs in her face. I've seen so many scary movies, my mind immediately pins her as a ghost or something stupid like that. I always daydream about stupid stuff like that to make my day more interesting. There's always a girl with long hair that kinda covers their features, right? Usually black hair though, especially in Japanese horror movies. She doesn't move for a while, and at first I thought she might be waiting for a parent or grandparent to come down from an appointment. But after an hour, I ask her if she needs anything. She doesn't move, so I'm not sure if she heard me or not. I stand up and lean over the counter a little, and I repeat myself. She finally stands up really quick. It's almost like a twitch, but her whole body. Kinda creepy, but not enough to wig me out completely. She leans her head back a little so that some of her hair comes off her face. She has deep blue eyes, very pretty, and very white teeth, which I can see now that she's smiling. It's an odd smile, but endearing. "I'm waiting for my father," she says in a dreamy voice, kinda like Luna from HP. I smile back and ask what kind of appointment he had to help her determine when he'd be done. "He was admitted to the ER this morning. I've been waiting a long time." I check the clock hanging above my computer and see it's almost 4. But I could have sworn she hadn't been there for more than an hour. Maybe she had been on the other side of the hospital. That's where the old ER entrance is. The thing is, we don't have an ER anymore. That all moved to the new hospital. "Did you come in with him?" I asked, trying to give her the benefit of the doubt. "The ER is actually at the new hospital now, which is across town." She looks a little crestfallen at my response, blue eyes on the floor. For being in her 20s, she sure does act like a little girl. "Maybe he came in here and they moved him?" I suggest, just wanting to help. She smiles a little at this and proceeds to walk over to the elevators that are right next to the receptionist area we're in. The doors open before she presses the button and she steps on, turning around to face me. "I'll go find him," she says quietly before the doors slide shut in front of her. Her eyes seem to glow in a brief instant before the doors close. Like I said, things have gotten a little weird around here. Not to say that girl was super weird, but there was just something off about this situation, you know? She was cute and creepy and weird and sweet all at the same time. Not 2 days after that, I think I saw her again on my way to lunch. Let me explain. I was heading down a dark hallway to get to the elevators when I saw something out of the corner of my eye through the little windows on a pair of double doors. It's the entrance to where our long-term care patients used to stay. But as we no longer have that, there shouldn't be anyone back there. Here and there we'll get a few homeless people trying to squat in various areas of the hospital. So I sigh and push my way through the doors saying, "You're not supposed to be in here. You need to leave or I'll call security." I tap my foot a little as I wait for someone to respond. Usually they give up right away. But I see a flash of light down a hall darting around a corner. I contemplate calling security and letting them deal with it, but something about that light piqued my curiosity. I'm too curious for my own good sometimes. I run over to the corner to try and catch a glimpse of whoever's in there, and I see long brown hair under the light blue disappear through a door before it closes. My mind jumped to that girl from earlier. Why was she still here? I get to the door, but the knob won't turn. It's even a little warm, which is weird since most of the hospital is freezing. After a few tries, I give up and resolve myself to telling security. After lunch, I hear back from security. It appears that no one has a key to that room anymore. It used to be some doctor's office, I guess. So of course no one's in there. Or somehow that girl or whoever it was happens to have a key that the hospital misplaced a long time ago. I run through what happened in my head and guess that I might have imagined the door closing. I don't know. It's just some weird stuff. Anyway, I saw that girl again yesterday. She said she was waiting for her dad again. It was as if our first conversation had never happened. There was no recognition in her blue eyes when she stood up, and she walked into the elevator with a, "I'll go find him," again. I'm kind of creeped out, but I don't know if it's enough to be worried. Things seem to be escalating, but not drastically, and no one's been hurt. Yet.